Hello everybody, this is Anna, also known as Anna Knitter on Ravelry, Anna-Lena Knitter on Instagram, and I'm happy and glad you to hit the play button, although my last podcast episode is already a month ago, 2 months ago, I don't know anymore. It was very stressful, many lovely, exciting things happened, so I wasn't able to film a podcast, but today I'm back, and today you can't see him, wait. Benny is joining me. Many people were asking how Benny is and where he is, and you haven't seen him for a while. It's just because of the setting. He is so small that you can't see him. Okay, I will let him down now. And if you see this during this episode, no, it's not a tattoo, it's a fake tattoo. I was on a birthday party and it was part of the fun that we had fake tattoos. Okay, today let me get my notes. I have some finished objects for you. Do I have a half-finished object? No, I have finished objects for you. Some works in progress. Some new projects from another craft. So not only knitting, but no crochet today. Knitalong talk. Some InstaKnitNight questions, and live update. There are some exciting things I have to tell you. Okay, let's start with the finished objects. I have a stack of socks. It's only 3 pairs of socks, but well, for you to show. But I only have 1 pair of sock blockers. So, okay, I think I will pause and show you the socks on the sock blocker. The first pair of socks is this one. It's Opal sock yarn from the subscription box I have talked about many times. If you don't know what the subscription box is, hop over to my last episodes. I explained it in detail. 4 times a year I receive 6 balls of yarn. I don't know the color, I only know it's opal yarn. And this sock is a plain vanilla sock. With 60 stitches. Normally I do 64 stitches, but I wanted to experiment a little bit because the opal yarn is very lofty, bouncy. I don't know how you would want to call that. So it's roomy enough, and I thought I will try with 60 stitches, and it fits very well. It's definitely enough for my shoe size. Yeah, 2x2 ribbing, slip stitch heel, and a Bandspitze, the toe we Germans do, or we learn first when we start knitting socks. And I always knit my socks matching. Off to the next pair, shall we? The next finished object, also a pair of socks, is a pattern sock, first of the yarn. The yarn again is Opal sock yarn from the subscription box. The contrast color is Lana Grossa, cashmere. So it has a few percent cashmere. I have already worn them, that's why they look a little bit used. And the pattern is called, so in English I would say Porthos. It's a French name, I don't know how to pronounce that. And in German we would say Porthos, Porthos. It's one of the musketeers. It's a free pattern. It's very much fun to make. It's quite similar to the surprise socks I have already knit weeks ago. There's only one little difference in that pattern, but yeah, it's easy, it's memorizable, it's fun, it's very stretchy, it's cozy, it creates a very cozy fabric, and again, it is a free pattern by Kaua Coffee, Caoua Coffee, Porthos, or however French people would pronounce it. Yeah, I really like them. And now the last finished object. My last finished object is part of the Christmas in July make-along by Dana Ray Makes. It runs until the end of August. You don't only have to knit Christmassy things or make Christmassy things, Halloween-esque themes like yarns or patterns are allowed as well. It's like a holiday make-along in the summer. And I have knit West Yorkshire spinners in the candy cane colorway. That is a very common, famous colorway. I held back knitting on them because West Yorkshire spinners is always very thin. I don't know, the yardage is quite normal, but the yarn is very thin. That's why I have to use 2.0 millimeter needles, and I usually knit my socks on 2.5. But this is a very thin yarn, and I recommend to knit this on a tighter gauge, so a smaller set of needles. I use DPNs because I have knit another Christmas colorway by West Yorkshire Spinners with my normal stitches, 64 stitches and 2.5 millimeter needles, and they got very slouchy and therefore airy and holey, and I ruined these socks. So you have to knit them on a tighter gauge so they last longer and they stay on your feet. The contrasting yarn is a no-name red. It's not the West Yorkshire Spinners red, but you can get them in a set, I think. Yeah, 64 stitches, as I said, and plain vanilla sock. And again, I knit my socks matching, always. These were my finished objects. I have a half-finished object I can't show you. I will roll it up because it's my mystery knit-along I'm writing at the moment. For you, I'm writing a pattern for December. I will host a mystery knit-along from December 1st until December 10th. It will be available for purchase, and you will receive the pattern day by day, so clue by clue every day. And it will be a very relaxed knit-along, so you will be able to finish the project definitely by Christmas. I will only show you this and not more, so maybe you already know what kind of pattern category it is. But I will give you more information on my Etsy shop, which will be open on October 1st again. I will be selling yarn again. Anna Knitter Yarns will be back in business on October 1st, and you will be able to buy the pattern for the mystery make-along in December. And I'm very excited because I love to attend knit-alongs, especially mystery knit-alongs, but I don't like to commit like into a pattern that takes me weeks and I don't know, 5 skeins of yarn or so. And this mystery knit-along I will host in December only takes you 100 gram of yarn, and for it's two projects. No, it's 2 finished objects. Let me say it that way. And the first one will take you about 10 days. And even if it takes you 12 days, you can knit the other part from the 12th until the 24th of December, and you will have your finished object by December if you want to. The next finished object, half-finished object, is my rose color block of my memories blanket. As you know, is it here? Is it here? Oh, here it is. As you know, I'm knitting a cozy memories blanket, but sorted by color. Besides this, that is my crazy block. I had already a rose purple block and orange and green. Then I frame it with white yarn as a contrast, and this is another rose color block. Here you see 20 rows, and here you only see 10 rows because I will attach another block next to it with other 10 rows, and so I will have 20 rows all around the block. The yarns, most of the yarns I have received in an advent calendar because I swap advent calendars every year. I usually don't buy advent calendars. I swap them with people from the knitting community. First of all, it's cheaper because I indie dyed Advent calendar would be awesome, but it's also very pricey. And it's special to swap advent calendars with another person you actually know, and you arrange everything for this person and add tea and candy and little presents. Yeah, I always enjoy it, and I have already 2 swapping partners for this year, and I'm looking forward to swapping my advent calendars with them. So yes, here is my color block. And when I have when I have done 3 color blocks, I attach them to each other and then to the whole blanket. And speaking of color blocks, I have started a brown color block already. And someone reached out to me and said that she doesn't really know how to knit the squares so they line up in all in the same direction, and I was considering making a tutorial for that. So if there are more people who would be interested in a mitered square block tutorial, it's not only about knitting one square, it's about how can I knit the squares all in the same direction without getting in trouble. If you're interested in such a knit along, I will do one. If there are only 2 people, maybe I can explain you via email or so how you can do this. So let me know in the comments down below. This is my brown color block. That is not so really brown, but it, you know, a little bit. It's Chai Chai by Gnome Acres. And this is Noble Character Crafts. This as well. This is very pretty. Unfortunately, she doesn't dye anymore. And I think this is as well Noble Character. I'm not... Oh, yes. I don't know. Amy, if you're watching, you can tell us. This is Mint Chocolate by Gnome Acres, I'm pretty sure. This is Opal. So some of these squares are made out of leftovers and some are from swaps. And my blocks are always 5x5. And it's very much fun. I was knitting so many socks lately. I needed to do something else, and the memories blanket is very enjoyable because you have many little small finished objects. If you finish a square, it's like a finished object. And you can play with different kinds and colors of yarn, so it doesn't get boring. And it's great for knitting during breakfast or lunch break. Yeah, you can squeeze in knitting way easier with such a project. The next work in progress. Oh yes. The next work in progress is also part of the Christmas in July make-along by Dana Ray Makes. I haven't knit on this the last week, but I enjoy it very much. It is a Christmas sock because I have the tradition to knit every year at least 1 pair of Christmas socks. And I think this is already the second pair. You saw the first pair and this is the second pair. And this is again the heavy sparkly German Christmas yarn by Wollbutt, Buttinette.com. It's not available in many countries. It's only available in European countries, and I don't think in all the European countries, so I'm very sorry. They release a pack of 3 different colors, so 3 different Christmas colors in 1 pack every year. And this is one of the prettier colorways they released. And maybe it's familiar to you because last year I knit 24 tiny socks for the advent calendar for my boyfriend, and I have used all these different Christmas yarns by this company I have bought in the last years. So I have quite some balls to knit through until I buy my next Christmas yarn. Yeah, here you see it in a ball. It's a vanilla sock, 64 stitches, 2.5mm needles. Very enjoyable. I love that yarn. It's very soft and bouncy. Yeah. And it smells like sheep. Okay, let me check my notes. I don't want to forget something. Maybe if you follow me on Instagram, you have seen me stitching. I started to cross stitch or to relearn how to cross stitch. I have learned it in school. During my, I never know how to pronounce the word, vacancy with my fiance. It's not my boyfriend anymore, he is my fiance. Because, yeah, I missed it. And I like to have several different hobbies by hand to swap things a little bit. Because I am more inspired when I have several different crafts I can choose from. If I knit only and all day and do nothing else than knitting, I don't feel inspired. And then I fall into a creative hole gap. I have no creative juices anymore, and I don't enjoy these times. And that's why I have crochet and coloring and many other things I really enjoy to do. And I wanted to add another craft, and that is cross-stitching. I bought, on our way to Bavaria, I bought a tiny little cross-stitch set, and it were like pink cupcakes. First of all, I'm not the biggest fan of pink, and I didn't like the motif, but I wanted to practice before I start on a picture or on a cross stitch I really like, and I don't want to ruin it. That was a good decision because I made all the mistakes a beginner makes, and now I know how it goes. And now I work on a pattern by Cloudsfactory, Clouds with S, because Cloudfactory is another website, Cloudsfactory, and it is a Harry Potter cross-stitch picture. I wanted to make the big sampler, but I thought, Anna, start small. And I think it was the right decision. I will show you the picture. That is the pattern I stitch. It's all the Hogwarts professors. Okay, this is Dumbledore, Snape, Slughorn, Trelawney, Lupin, McGonagall, Hagrid, Moody, Flitwick, like in the newer movies. In the older movies he looks different. Umbridge, Sprout, and this annoying Lockhart. Yeah. And now I will show you my stitching. Okay, it's unfortunately McGonagall is covered by... Okay, we got interrupted, so I will tell you the same story again. I was talking about McGonagall, and I took off the hoop, and I will do it again to show you my stitching. I have to say, cross-stitching is very much fun. It's very easy. I don't know if I do a good job on the backside, but I do my best. And I'm not very careful how much yarn, or yeah, is it yarn? How much yarn, thread or floss I use, because it is not expensive. If you compare it to knitting, you know, if you waste yarn, it can be very expensive. But DMC is not very expensive. And that is how I store them, my DMCs. It's only for this project. I only bought the floss I needed for the project. And I have numbers on all of them, so I can identify them. And I have them in the order, I have to use them so they appear in the pattern. You know what I mean? Yeah. And here are some additional ones I had to buy twice. Yeah, it's very easy. It's you can't really make mistakes, I feel like. cross stitch is only one stitch of embroidery. And I learned some stitches in school. I learned many things crafty in school. I'm very blessed as a German. I don't know if kids nowadays still learn all these things, but I learned them. And the cross stitch is only one of all these different stitches. And it's the easiest one, in my opinion. Okay, there is the half cross stitch. That is the easiest one. But yeah, it's I like it very much. And I can't watch TV when I cross stitch, and that is a blessing. Because I think it is good from time to time to at least only listen to something while you're crafting. I can craft in complete silence, but I often don't want to. So, for example, I stitch while I listen to podcasts, I mean audio podcasts, or while Tommy reads to me. We read Harry Potter together, or I listen to audiobooks. And yeah, and stitching is always the same. You know, you do the same thing over and over again, and you have to be so patient because, you know, when you start a ball of yarn or a skein of yarn, it takes a time until you need to attach a new ball. But with cross stitching, sometimes you do 5 stitches and then you need the next color and you have to weave in all the time. But I don't mind it. I don't know why, but I don't mind it. I really enjoy cross stitching. And after I have finished, so Cloudsfactory has so many different awesome patterns and many fandom patterns. So I will definitely cross stitch as many Harry Potter patterns I can stitch. There are the Weasley family, then the evil characters, all in one picture, the small pillow sampler, the big sampler for the wall. So there are so many things to stitch. And I discovered Hanna Braniff. Hanna Hand Makes is her Etsy name. And she's lovely. She has a cross-stitch podcast. I think it's the only cross-stitch podcast for audio. I know. I listen it in my podcast app. I really enjoy it. She is so lovely, and she not only talks about cross-stitching, and that is something I enjoy. She talks about many things, about well-being, about awareness, about starting a business, etc. So she has lovely topics. Okay. I think we start with... Oh no, before I answer some InstaKnitNight questions, first I want to remind you that we still have the Hygge Feet call running. We have every month a prompt if you want to knit after a prompt, and we have the main thread where you just put all your socks you want to. And the prompt for August is harvesting. So all the colors and patterns reminding you of the word harvesting, harvest, is allowed. Are allowed. You only have to explain how it fits the prompt. Yeah. And the Welcome Baby Socks Knitalong is still running. These are our 2-year-long Knitalongs. Everything via Ravelry. You'll find all the links in the description box below. InstaKnitNight Questions. Let's do that. How do you store and organize your yarn? I only have one cupboard for that, so I can't organize them like by colors and by weight and by, I don't know, commercial or indie dyed. But I sort them by the good indie dyed and then the few heavier yarns I have. Then one box only with sock yarn, and by sock yarn I mean Regia, Opal, Peyton's Croy, so real sock yarn. Yarn I only knit socks with. Yeah, that's how I store my yarns, or how I organize my yarns. And I have everything in one cupboard. I showed you in Vlogmas once. Favorite baby gift to knit and to crochet. So to crochet, definitely baby blankets, because the people appreciate blankets very much, especially if they are handmade, and crochet because it's much faster than knitting. And I have 3 things I really like to knit for babies. First of all, baby socks, because it's a quick thing. So a pair of baby socks take me 4 hours. So it's not so quick, but quick enough. And it's cute, and babies always need socks. And then I have knit this already 2 times. It's the sheepish little sweater. This is very fun to make and lovely to give away. And I have knit one flex light in baby size. It's a free pattern, and I have cast on one for adult size already a month ago, but I have knit on it. And this is this one with the garter stitch upper arm. It's very easy and fun to make, and baby knits are very fun. So these are nice patterns for gift knits, in my opinion. And the next. Favorite technique for socks. Okay. DP ends, cuff down, slip stitch heel, and that changed. I always knit short row heels, but slip stitch heel and my German Bandspitze toe. And I think about to make a tutorial on YouTube for how I knit my socks, because I feel like with my knitting table, I always use my sock knitting table. Many people would love that, especially people from the US, because when I see how people from the US try to get them fitting, so the socks fitting for foreign people, foreign feet, so to say, and when they ask, oh, I don't know how, because I can't measure them, for example, the foreign feet. Let me call it foreign feet, okay? I always think, oh, your life would be so much easier if you did it the German way. So, and that is the reason why I consider making a tutorial. If you are interested in that, let me know in the comments down below. The 4th question, do you wear your hand knits? Definitely. I mean, in the beginning, when I started to knit garments, that I had to be brave to do this. But if you don't use many crazy colors, and I wouldn't wear a scrappy cardigan when I go outside. Yeah, for walking the dog maybe, but not for business appointments or so. But if it's something I think it is pretty, I will wear it in public, and all the other things I wear around the house. So definitely. It would be a waste of yarn if I wasn't wearing it. Special gift knits and how I felt when I gave them. Okay, the most special handmade, let's say handmade, gifts were or have been a crochet blanket for a befriended couple when they had their first baby. Because crochet was new to me, and this crochet blanket had very many different stitches, and I had to learn a lot. And it was fun, and they love that blanket. Until today, they still love it. And they get many questions about that blanket. Where to buy it and so on. And I think the most special gift I have knit was the Weasley sweater for my fiancé, for Tom, last year for Christmas, because it was my first garment for another person. You know, socks for other people is so easy, but garments for other people, you know, that's a different business. And we tried it on several times, but after every step, for example, when I finished the first half of the sleeve, I told him, you have to put it on, I have to measure, I have to correct maybe something and so on, or the length of the body. And when he threw this pullover over on Christmas Eve, and it was fitting perfectly, and he was so happy because he asked for the Weasley sweater, I was so amazed, and I was so happy and grateful, and it was as much gift for me as for him, really. So I was making myself a gift. Giving him the hand knit pullover. That was awesome. Oh, that was the last question. Now we come to life update. I will try to keep it short. We were on vacation in Bavaria, where we re-met the first time and decided that we want to be a couple 2 years ago, in September 2 years ago. And I received this. That means we are engaged now and we will marry each other next year. We have already a date, but I won't say it because you never know, Corona and so on. So COVID. So I will keep this a secret. And that was lovely. So he asked me at a certain spot where something very special happened, and we had a very deep talk back then, 2 years ago, and he wanted to propose to me on that specific place, and it wasn't possible for the last 1.5 years because of stupid COVID. And so we had to wait so much. So I had to wait so much and so long. And then he asked me and I said yes. And I said, finally you asked me. Because we were talking about marrying each other already when we weren't even a couple, you know? It is, my parents always, when I asked my parents, how did you know that you were meant to be? Because my parents are married for longer than everyone I know. And they always said, we just knew it. If the right person stands in front of you, you feel it and you know it. So I was married before, and thank God I was able to annul this marriage. And back then I was making the decision in my head. You know, I had a list. A future husband has to have this, has to be like this, has to be trustful, has to be Catholic, has to be this and that. And I checked off the list and I saw some problems and said to myself, okay, but these problems are smaller than the positive things. So we get this. And we didn't, and it was horrible and it was a nightmare. And this time, when I saw Tommy the first time, I knew he is it. He is the man. He is the man I want to marry. I just knew it, and I didn't know why. I just knew he is the person I want to spend my life with, and he is the person I can trust blindly. Is blindly a word? I know he won't betray me. I know he is trustful. I know he is, I can rely on him. It's just, yeah, I just knew it. And I thought back what my parents told me, and I thought, now I understand. And when I have children and they will ask me, Mama, when can I say someone is the right person to marry? I will say the same, and it won't be helpful as well. Just as I have experienced it with my parents. Because you know it when the person is there. And now I know. Now I know how it feels. I know it. I just know it. And it's a lovely feeling. It's when everything falls into place, when everything is how it is to be, and when you feel it is meant to be, life gets so easy. Although you can go through rough times, it's easy. I know it's contradictory, but it's the truth. Yeah. So that is life update. And the next life update, I already told you, Anna Knitted Yarns will be back into business on October 1st. I will be dyeing yarn and I will be releasing my first pattern, and I have already ideas for other Knitalongs for the future. So yeah, Anna Knitted Yarns will be back into business with yarns and first time patterns, and I want to host mainly Knitalongs because that is the thing I really like, and mystery Knitalongs. I hope you are excited. And I will be offering for my first shop update in October Christmas yarns on merino base and sturdy sock yarn base, and on heavy sparkling yarn. So Christmas yarns will be definitely in the shop, and other colorways. And I will try to re-dye colors I have already dyed when I lastly opened my shop. Yeah, now I have finally the time and the brain space and everything to dye yarn again, and I only stopped because I had to switch jobs, and I had to move houses, and I had to get used to a new job, etc. And now I have finally settled in after a year. I have my routine with my work, and that makes it possible to dye yarn again, and I'm looking forward to that so much because it is so much fun. Yeah, and I will offer everything on Etsy. for now. But if it's possible, I will start my own website. But there, you need a regular income to afford a website. So I will start with Etsy first. I'm wishing you a lovely knitting, crocheting, stitching, crafting week, and I hope we will chat soon. Bye bye!